plan was ingenious, charismatic, and most importantly, it did not want to become what it became. It wanted to become an illustrator. It wanted to make the world proud of its talents. But it held a gun in its hands, and then a world was burnt to ashes in the fire of revenge. You may find it exaggerating, but it is a fact that the world we live in today is a reflection of its fear. From atom bombs to space bombers, many weapons were designed in its laboratory. Who was Hitler? And why is today's world a reflection of its fear? I am Mohammed Usama Ghazi. We will tell you the story of the most controversial figure in history. It was September 28, 1918. The First World War was coming to an end. There was a small town called Markwayn, 188 kilometers away from Paris. There was a young German soldier on the target of a British soldier. He could either leave the soldier or kill him. The German soldier, who was actually a courier or a robber, was certain that he would be shot. But this did not happen. The British soldier, T. Henry, disarmed the soldier and dropped the gun, and pointed the soldier to leave. Apparently, this is one of the thousands of incidents in the First World War. But Henry does not know that he has made history, because the person he has left is Adolf Hitler. The same Hitler who killed more than 5 million people in the Second World War. Hitler himself narrated this incident of the First World War when he had seen a picture of T. Henry in a newspaper. This was the picture of T. Henry. And this is the picture of Hitler. This big mustached Hitler was serving as a courier or a robber during the First World War. When the British Army used poisonous gas against the Germans, everyone wore masks to avoid it. But for Hitler, the problem was that his mustache was sticking out of the mask. So, Hitler had his mustache cut according to the size of the mask. And so Hitler's face was revealed, which is still recognized today. Hitler's eyes were also severely affected by the chemical attack of the First World War. And he went blind. But after the treatment, the light of Hitler's eyes came back. The light of the eyes came back, but now the fire of revenge was burning in the eyes of the Germans. Hitler was born and brought up in the neighboring country of Austria. But after the war, he had become a German. He wanted to be a photographer in his childhood. But now he had given up and decided to avenge his defeat, even if he had to face the whole world for it. Hitler started his political life with a small unknown political party. The name of this party was the German Workers' Party. This is the same German party later known as the Nazi Party. This party was formed by the German citizens and former soldiers who had a vengeful mind in the First World War, because after the First World War, Britain and France had taken away the areas from Germany, which had been part of its empire for centuries. Not only that, Germany was forced to compensate the loss of the world powers including France. The compensation amount was equal to 96,000 tons of gold. Yes, it was equal to 96,000 tons of gold. This was a great humiliation for the German nation. And because the Nazi Party was against the conditions imposed on Germany after the defeat, it was accepted by the people. Hitler had become in charge of propaganda in this party. But in 1921, he was elected head of the party. Interestingly, Hitler had previously refused to become the head of the party. But when he saw the collapse of the party, he decided to take over the leadership. After becoming the head of the party, Hitler himself chose the symbol of the party. This symbol was originally used in India and still is. The followers of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism considered it a symbol of spirituality. In Sanskrit, it means success or welfare. In Hitler's era, this symbol was also used as a symbol of good luck in Europe. Many big companies used to advertise on swastika. And do you know why Hitler made it a symbol of his party? There is a very interesting reason for it. In fact, the Germans thought that the Indians and Germans belonged to the Aryan race. Hitler considered swastika a symbol of the Aryan race. So Hitler made it a symbol of the Nazi Party. The Nazi Party was a local-level party. But when the hero of the First World War, the former General Erich Ludendorff, joined the party was on fire. Ludendorff was the top commander of the German army. He had defeated the Russian army in the First World War. But when Hitler joined the party was on fire. When the British army came to the battlefield, Ludendorff lost. But now he was instigating the people by putting the blame of defeat on the politicians. For political fame, Hitler's power increased when he joined the party with Ludendorff. He wanted to bring a revolution in Germany. So in 1921, he formed an organization called SA. The German name of this organization was Attack Division. Its workers wore brown shirts and were called stormtroopers. Its workers were vowed to die in the name of Hitler. In 1922, Mussolini succeeded in Italy. So Hitler thought he could achieve the same success. Now Hitler was looking for a chance to bring a revolution. And this chance was provided by Ruhr. Ruhr was an area of Germany. It was situated on the border of the Netherlands in the west of Berlin. In this area there were coal mines and oil mills. When Germany could not pay the cost to the world powers, France and Belgium occupied Ruhr in January 1923. Ruhr was an industrial city. The aim of the occupation was that the Allies could get their goods from here. Now the situation was such that France and Belgium had occupied Ruhr. But the workers of Germany were working in the factories of Ruhr. Germany could not compete with the attackers. But the German government took a big decision. It ordered the factory workers of Ruhr to stop their work. The government would pay their salaries at home. This step was taken so that the Allies could not take advantage of the factories. The government announced, but there was no money in the treasury for the salaries. So, the government printed large amounts of currency notes. The loss was that the value of the German currency fell to 2 crores. The value of the currency fell so much that in 1923, one double bread in Germany costed 2 billion marks. When people went to the bakeries to buy bread, they would take the notes with them. The result of the currency crisis was that those who had worked hard for 10 to 20 lakh marks, their budget was almost zero. The currency notes of the Arabs in the banks were almost useless. In a few days, the Arabs became rich. The German currency fell so much that to save gas and wood in the cold weather, people started burning currency notes in the fires. So this was the Germany where the situation was such that it gave birth to a revolutionary leader. The situation was such that the German people believed that they would get them out of this darkness. Such a situation was usually fulfilled by 2 people. One was a statesman and the other was an emotional revolutionary. It was the fate of Germany that Adolf Hitler, who had a charismatic personality, started to fulfill this situation. Was he a statesman or an emotional revolutionary? You decide for yourself. By that time Hitler had completed his task of reinforcing the SS. Now his organization had not become a common political party but a revolutionary political party. In Munich alone he had 3,000 soldiers. Hitler decided to declare a revolution while being influenced by Mussolini. For this he chose the Bayer Hall in Munich. We have already shown you the story of Mussolini in the 2nd episode of the series Who Was He? On November 8, 1923, Hitler entered the Bayer Hall with a pistol in his hand and announced Nazi rule in the city. The next day, he marched to the city center with his thousands of armed workers. Hitler had expected that he would also get acceptance and government like Mussolini. But this was Hitler's imagination. The German police opened fire on the gathered Nazis in the city center. In response, the Nazi workers also started firing. In this ongoing battle, 14 Nazis and 4 policemen were killed. But the field was in the hands of the police. Thus, the first attempt of Hitler's revolution, or you can also call it a revolt, was a failure. Most of Hitler's comrades were arrested. Hitler managed to escape, but 2 days later, the German police found him and put him in jail. In this revolt, the German hero of the First World War, Erich Ludendorff, was with Hitler. He was also in the government, so the 2 were charged with treason. Ludendorff was a former general and a very influential man. He escaped on the basis of his connections and fame. Hitler was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but he was released after 9 months under the pressure of the Nazi Party. In jail, Hitler wrote his book Mein Kampf. It means My Struggles. This book presents a glimpse of Hitler's future. In the book, Hitler presented the German Aryan race as a superior race, but he emphasized that the rest of the world's people are inferior to the Germans, and the problems of the world can be solved only when the world government is in the hands of the Germans. In this book, he called the Jews the reason for the collapse of Germany. During his imprisonment, the situation in Germany was not getting better. In fact, it was getting worse and worse. And because Hitler had rebelled against the regime, he had become famous all over the country. But during this failed rebellion, he had learned a lesson. It is not easy to bring a revolution in Germany with a bullet but with a pellet. So as soon as he got out of jail, he started preparing the party for the elections. During this time, the problem had also been solved, which led Hitler to the path of rebellion.